Welcome back to Go Chat. We are here with our fourth episode of the week. We did mention on Sunday that we had a surprise coming for you guys. Our surprise is that we are now moving to 2 episodes a week. And now we are here for our fourth episode, and we are going to open up, as we always do, with our go to the number 4. Tommy, let's start with you.
Well, I'm going to have to go with Lou Gehrig. I mean, who's better than Lou? Let's take a look at Lou's numbers. He's a Hall of Famer, obviously, 3-time MVP, 6-time World Series champion, 7-time All-Star. And, one of the most incredible talents that the Yankees have ever had. Unfortunately, his career was cut short. But he's very impactful in the game of baseball. It's hard for me to pick anybody else than Lou Gehrig.
Let's go to Matt Cain. Who do you got? Go to the number 4.
Oh, man. Who else can it be? I got Brett Favre. He was the guy that introduced me. He didn't introduce me. That was my dad. But he was the one that made me love the game of football, made me love the Packers. I remember watching him New Year's Eve against the Bears. That's when I started to like him. But, Brett Favre, he's one of the best passers. He's easily top 10 NFL quarterback to ever play. He won the Super Bowl against the Patriots, which is great. Before the Patriots were like a thing. 3-time in a row NFL MVP. He got his number retired with the Packers, All-Pro. He's the guy you want.
Mike, are you going to give us a different number 4?
Well, of course, because you guys are wrong like usual, and I'm right. But, it obviously has to be Bobby Orr, the best NHL defenseman of all time. He completely revolutionized the way that the defensive position is played in hockey. He had 6 straight 100-point seasons, and he led the NHL in points twice. Before Bobby Orr, this was unheard of. And even in today's game, a 100-point season from a defenseman is unheard of. Like, it barely ever gets done. Even from a player, like, there's only one current player in the NHL who has 100 points right now, and that's Leon Draisaitl. And the fact that Bobby Orr did it as a defenseman is just amazing. Not only to mention that he's won the award for the best defenseman, the Norris Trophy, 8 times. And he also has won the Hart Trophy 3 times, which is the MVP in the National Hockey League. So he's the best defenseman of all time, which is what Brett Favre and Lou Gehrig cannot say in their respective sport. Brett Favre cannot say that he's the best quarterback of all time, and Lou Gehrig cannot say that he's the best baseball player of all time. So I'll leave it at that. Connor, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to have to agree with Tommy here. I'm going to go with the Iron Horse, Lou Gehrig. He threw out some interesting numbers there, the 6-time World Series champ, the 3-time MVP, the 7-time All-Star. But he did forget that Lou Gehrig won a Triple Crown title in 1934. He also won a batting title, and his overall career numbers are a .340 batting average with 495 home runs and 1995 RBIs. These are numbers that not a lot of baseball players are going to put up after their careers are over. And playing in only 17 seasons, having these kind of numbers, when there's players now who are putting up 20 years like Derek Jeter, and his numbers don't exactly resemble this, it's hard to beat. He only had 2 seasons in his entire career where he hit under 300, and only 1 season in his entire career where his batting average was, or his on-base percentage was under 400. These are numbers that no one sees anymore. Lou Gehrig is the best to ever wear number 4.
That's right.
Well, I think the thing is when you listen, Lou Gehrig is great. He's definitely one of the best baseball players of all time. But Bobby Orr, he was just so ahead of his game. He only played 13 years in the NHL, and he only played 657 games, but he had 915 points in those games. So he's leading all defensemen all time in goals per game. He's leading all defensemen all time in assists per game, and he's leading all defensemen all time in points per game. Yeah, a lot of players won't do what Lou Gehrig have done. A lot of players won't do what Brett Favre have done. But the fact of the matter is there are other players that have done what Brett Favre and Lou Gehrig have done. There is no one else in NHL history that has done what Bobby Orr has done, and that is the case to be made with Bobby Orr.
Matt Cain, do you have a case for Brett Favre?
Fourth in the all-time. I mean, I obviously think that all these guys are great. If I had to pick between Garrick and Orr, I'd pick Orr. But my heart stays with Favre. You could call that bias, which I guess it is.
Homer, I'm kidding.
But Brett Favre was fourth in the career passing yards, obviously behind Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning, all great quarterbacks. I think that, quarterback is such a big position in the football league that, what he's done is amazing. I mean, and when you look at hockey, everyone looks at the forwards, and maybe that's not a good thing. But, when I think of hockey all-time greats, obviously I think of Wayne Gretzky, Sidney Crosby. I think of the forwards. So, but yeah, I can agree that Bobby Orr is definitely an all-time great too.
I would just say, I mean, this is now 3 straight episodes where we've had a Yankee in our best, our GOAT. And I mean, the Yankees are known for having those small number greats. I mean, number 5 is Joe DiMaggio. Number 6, you got Joe Torre. So, I mean, there's a lot of Yankees that might be showing up here. Tommy, you got anything to say about that?
Well, I think I'm going to go with the Yankees at least until number 10 because the Yankees have numbers 1 through 10 retired. And, I mean, they retired 23 numbers, I think. So I think I'm going to have 23 Yankees at least down there throughout the course of the.
Yeah, well, when we get to 99, we're having a problem.
No, we got Aaron Judge.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We'll save that for episode 99. Everyone make sure to check in on episode 99. That'll be here in probably like 2 years.
Well, one thing I do want to mention about Lou Gehrig, I feel like his team was just so good around him. I feel like the Yankees were so good back then, which allowed him to, be so good and win so many titles. So I think that's one thing that you could attribute to Lou Gehrig that you really can't attribute to Bobby Orr. I think Bobby Orr and Brett Favre did have less help around them than what Lou Gehrig did. So you also have to take that into account.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about the Yankees retired all these jerseys. They've had players like.
I mean, it's pretty easy if you're playing on a team of all-stars, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he was on one of the best teams of all time. I believe it was the 1927 Yankees, the Murderers Row Yankees. But at the same time, he had a 114.1 WAR, wins above replacement, which is pretty incredible. But no, it's certainly a part of it, though. I mean, he had guys on base to drive in, and you give credit to his teammates for that. But yeah, Lou certainly had an incredible career.
Again, I'd say all 3 of these players have had incredible careers with the number 4. Obviously, we can say all these stats, but none of us are going to change our minds. Let's give it up to Bobby Orr, Brett Favre, and Lou Gehrig.
Bobby Orr slept on, I'm telling you.
Michael never changes mind, with anything. I don't think we can get through the mic.
Listen, the thing is, I think so well about everything. So when I come on here, it's going to be really hard to change my mind because I put a lot of thought into everything I say. But, it's whatever. I like being right all the time. It's not a big deal or anything.
Yeah.
You are.
Okay.
I think this is a good transition into our next topic of the day. Mike will introduce us to that next.
Welcome back to Go Chat. We had a great first segment right there. It was a little bit back and forth. We're excited to be back and talk about our next topic. So for this topic, we're going to talk about the new 24 NHL team playoff format. So basically what's going on with that is, and it's going to be divided East and West. And so the teams ranked by point percentage, 5 through 12, are going to be playing 5-game series. So 5 will be playing 12, 6 will be playing 11, and on and on. So it's going to be a 5-game series. And for the first 4 seeds in each conference, they will have a round robin to play in between them. It's sort of like a reseeding thing. The NHL has not come out with what will happen after that, but that is all the news we have so far. Very interesting format. So what do you guys think about it? It's something brand new.
I would say when I first saw it, I was not very excited about it because, I mean, it seems like every single team, I mean, obviously besides 6 is making the playoffs. it gives those teams that are towards the bottom of the tier still that extra advantage. But now, as I've thought about it more, it gives it that more interesting, and it's going to be good to watch because, I mean, there could be plenty of upsets. I think it could give that March Madness type feel to it. And, I mean, I'm not the biggest hockey fan. You'll see with this segment, I'm not going to be able to pitch in quite a bit. But I'll watch it when it's on. I'll watch it if it's the only sport being played. And I'd love to see some good competition. And I think the 2014 playoff could bring some good competition to the sport of hockey.
Okay. Matt, what do you think?
I like it. Well, first off, it has the Blackhawks in it, just sliding into it. So, I like that. See if they could get an upset. Connor was talking about the March Madness feel. That's kind of how I felt. I've liked it from the beginning. So I'm hoping that there could be some upsets. Some good playoff hockey. NHL playoffs it's always like fun to watch. It's great, but I'm hoping to see some upsets. Obviously there's some really strong teams, but I'm excited.
Oh, also one thing on when it's planned to return. So in June, teams will start having optional practices at their facilities, and training camp will start no later than July 1st. So just a little thing to be added. It is expected to start from mid to late July. Training camp is. So, we'll see when games will start getting played. Okay, well, Tommy, give us your thoughts on the new format.
Yeah, I agree with Matt and Connor. And like what Connor said, I wasn't a big fan of it at first just because, 24 teams, it's almost the entire league. You're going to have teams with losing records in there. But I think it's good overall for hockey because you have more fan bases that have, their teams in it. They have a chance in a time where everybody just wants sports back. So I definitely think it's good. You have a lot of cities that will have something to root for during this difficult time.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys. At first, I was a little bit thrown off. It was a really weird format. In my opinion, at first, it made the playoffs it made the achievement of making the playoffs more insignificant. But I think when you look at the times that we are in right now, such weird times, you have to come up with a weird solution. So I think this is actually a good way to, get more fans back into the games because they most likely won't be able to show up to the games. They're planning to have in 4 different hub cities. And I just think that, it's good to get people back to hockey. Who knows? Hockey doesn't have a huge fan base. Maybe this new format will help grow the sport that I think is really underrated. Like Matt was talking about before, I think there's nothing like playoff hockey, just the atmosphere. Obviously, the atmosphere is going to be different because of there being no fans, but there's just nothing like the intensity of playoff hockey. So I think – go ahead, Matt.
The brutal hits, you got to love it.
100%. Just the intensity. You could feel it. You could feel it through your TV. Hopefully it's going to be the same regardless if there are fans there or not. But, hey, my Florida Panthers slid in to the number 10 spot facing off against the Islanders. We'll see how that goes. But moving on to who we think will come out on top, who will be victorious, who will win the Stanley Cup. Who do you guys think will win the Stanley Cup? We will start off with you, Tommy. What do you think? Who will win the Stanley Cup this year?
Well, I'm going to have to go with the St. Louis Blues. They had the best record in the NHL in the regular season, and they announced that the regular season's done, right? They're going to go right to the postseason?
Yeah, right into the 2014 format.
Okay, yeah. So they had a great season. Their defense was outstanding. Their 2 goalies, Jake Allen and Jordan Binnington. Is that how you say it?
Yeah,
okay,
Jordan Binnington.
But, yeah, their defense was great, and I think it's going to carry them through this postseason.
Okay, Matt, what do you think?
I was going back and forth between the Avs and the Pens, but I'm going to go with the Penguins, Obviously, I'm not expecting the Flyers or, the teams that were hot to be as hot as they were coming back. But, one thing that the Penguins can get back is Jake Gensel. I feel like he could really be a help with the forwards. And, obviously, they have winning mentality. They've won championships two in a row a couple years ago. So I think that, if a team has to get there based on no chemistry from the period that we've been sitting out, I think a great team for that would be the Pens.
Okay, good choice. What about you, Connor? What are your thoughts?
I'm going to have to say the Boston Bruins, being led by David Pastrnak with 95 overall points with 48 goals on the season. They're seventh in total goals for, first in goals against, which shows that their goalie play has been above average this season. They are second in their power play, showing that they're succeeding and making the most of their opportunities when they are on advantage on the floor. They're third in penalty kill, which shows that their defense in the penalties time is excellent. The one thing that I think could kill them in the end is they're 25th in penalty minutes. So a lot of their starters are going to be in the box, killing off some time. But I mean, again, the third in the penalty kill is good for that. I think they could be a front runner there for the Cup.
I think that's a great choice. Honestly, that's probably more of the obvious answer with the safe answer. I think that they were the best team in the NHL during the regular season, just a beast overall, especially with their goaltending. Yaroslav Halak and Tuukka Rask were just killing it in net for them. But I have to go with the Tampa Bay Lightning. As much as this pains me as a Florida Panthers fan, I just think that they will have a sort of vengeance after last season's embarrassing defeat to the Columbus Blue Jackets, in which they got swept 4-0 in the first round. But I think that they are finally going to get that title that they've been vying for many, many years. Their goaltending play is solid. They have the best offense in the NHL, as they have the most goals for and the seventh goals against. So them and the Bruins are kind of flipped around. I think it's going to be between them and the Bruins. And you also, one point I want to bring up, the Tampa Bay Lightning have extremely good depth. They have 5 or 6 players over 50 points for the whole season. Well, I don't think I could say the same about the Boston Bruins, which is why I picked them over the Bruins, why I picked the Lightning over the Bruins. I think Victor Hedman, one of the best defensemen in the NHL, will help shut down that first line of Pastrnak, Bergeron, and Marchand. So I think that will help them out. And then the depth of the Lightning will just kill the Bruins. And then the Lightning will come out victorious with whoever comes out of the West. It could be the Blues, the Avalanche, I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I think that you're right. I think that that's a good choice. The Lightning, they're the Syracuse Crunch, which is local for me. That's their NHL team, so I know they think very highly of them. When I job shadowed there this winter, so I think that they're a strong team and they definitely can make it. I just poise against them is that they're not really maybe they are, but I don't see them as like a championship mentality kind of team. They've kind of been, I wouldn't say blowing it in the playoffs, but obviously you talked about last year. And the one thing I pose against the Bruins is that they can't finish in overtime. They have 12 overtime losses, the same as one of the worst teams in the East, the Senators and the Devils. So, if they could finish in overtime, then maybe that's a different situation. But obviously there's no overtime losses in the playoffs. You go right through.
Well, I think when you look at the Penguins, I think, great. They have Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, who have won 3 championships with the Penguins. But you look at their goaltending. Their goaltending is just lackluster. I think Matt Murray is overrated. And, their backup has been playing well this year, but, he's a backup. You have to remember that. When you get to the playoffs, it's all about defense and goaltending. Who's going to keep you in that game? Because obviously a goal can make a difference throughout the whole game, and your goalie is your last wall of defense. So I think a weak goaltending will eventually bring them down. And, their defense is pretty solid too. They still have Crystal Tang, but not much after that. So I think it's going to be their defense and goaltending that will bring them down. So while the Lightning and the Bruins and even the Blues have great defense and goaltending.
Yeah, I can agree with you there. I think that the Penguins have been lucky to have Marc-Andre Fleury and Matt Murray, their championship years. But I really think that Matt Murray might be able to pull out, maybe not, but I think he will be able to. And if they need to put Jari in, then their backup goalie Tristan Jari. If they need to put him in, then I think that they could still get the job done with it. But it's playoff hockey, so we really never know.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I pose against the Blues is, obviously teams can do it. I talked about the Penguins doing it, but I don't see the Blues being able to two-peat. I mean, maybe they can. It's a different year, but I don't know if they have what it takes to two-peat.
Well, I think one thing for the Blues is, like I said before, they have amazing goaltending. Jake Allen has a 2.14 goals against average, and Jordan Binnington has a 2.5 goals against average. Also, they just have great depth throughout their lineup. They still have a great defense. They added Justin Falk. He has played not up to par this season, but he has been solid nonetheless. So I think the Blues can still prevail. I think it's going to be between them and the Avs for the Western Conference.
Definitely.
But
yeah, I think that the East is better. I think the East is better than the West.
Mm-hmm. Tommy, would you agree with that assessment that the Blues could repeat?
I think they can. Yeah, like you said with the defense, I definitely think that it's good enough for them to win. But I also agree with what you were saying. The Bruins have been outstanding this year as well. But, it's definitely going to be interesting with all those teams in there. I mean, I think a team could surprise us too, that a lower seed, it is a lower seed. But, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like with March Madness, right? Anything can happen. You can have an upset, but it's not as likely, obviously, with the series. But I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, I definitely think that you have to take that into account. And, yeah, it is hard to repeat, but the Penguins did it in 2016 and 2017 when they won back-to-back. So it happened recently, and it's not impossible for it to happen. So you also have to take that into account. But one team I want to throw out there, they finished the year really hot, the Philadelphia Flyers. They had a fantastic goaltending. They're great in the power play, great in the PK. They finished in their last 10, they were 9-1. So I think they could be sort of a sleeper team out of the East. I'm pretty sure they are a top 4 seed, but even if, I think that they really played well throughout the season, especially started to gain their chemistry. So I think the break does put them at a disadvantage, but I think they could possibly propel themselves to another Stanley Cup championship. What do you guys think?
Connor, you go if you want.
Well, I was going to just ask you guys a question. So, Matt, why don't you give your point on that, and I'll just ask you guys my question.
I was going to say that I really like Carter Hart and goalie, and I think that they could I think that I was rooting for them before, with their hot streak, obviously because the Blackhawks, I'd never expected them to be in the playoffs, but I would be interested to see how they do coming in.
So my question was, we see all the time with like these March Madness formats and tournaments like this where we see a lot of those lower end teams who get far in the tournament. My two hockey guys down here, and Matt and Mike, do you guys see anyone who's towards the bottom of that 24 team format who could make it far and get a chance at that Stanley Cup?
I think there is a team, and they are playing the Florida Panthers in the first round, my team. The New York Islanders, one thing you have to think about is that they always start each season really, really hot. They started this season really hot. They started last season really hot. So I think when it's going to practically be a new season coming back from this large break. So I think that they could take advantage of that and get hot because, again, the postseason won't be too long. I think you're going to have to win like 17 games to win the Stanley Cup. So I think that's a team. And listen, you could call me a homer for this, but I think the Florida Panthers are really, really talented. And I think if Bobrovsky can step up in the playoffs like he did last year for the Blue Jackets, they could be a team who could be dangerous. So I think either team out of that 7-10 matchup in the East could possibly come out on top. Matt, what do you think?
I think I'm going to side with the top 4 teams in each. I don't think there's going to be a lot of sleepers. Maybe Toronto. But I really think that the strongest teams, especially in the East, are definitely going to be the Capitals, Bruins, Flyers, Lightning, and obviously when I said the Pens. And then the West, I don't think the West is going to be that strong in respect to the East, but I think the Avs and maybe Dallas Stars, Ben Bishop at goalie, but I think it's going to be an East playoffs.
Well, like I said before, I think the biggest thing in the NHL playoffs is goaltending. Like you saw last year with Jordan Binnington, he kind of carried the Blues to that title. So I think when you look at the lower seed teams, you have to look at which teams had an outstanding performance in net during last season. So you look at the Winnipeg Jets with Connor Hellebuck. He was a possible MVP candidate, especially as a goalie that is outstanding. And I like what Matt said before with the Dallas Stars and Ben Bishop. They were right behind the Bruins for best defense in the league. And I know this is kind of off what I said, but you also have to look at the Edmonton Oilers and the star power that they have in Connor McDavid, the best player in the league, and Leon Draisaitl, who is honestly catching up to him. He has 110 points this season, which is ridiculous, and only 70 games played. So I think when you look at that, the star power of the Oilers and the goaltending for the Stars and the Jets, they could possibly be contenders in the West.
Yeah, and one reason why I think the Blackhawks won't make it far is because of the goaltending. I don't think that Corey Crawford is the best goalie. And they obviously gave up Robin Lehner earlier in the season.
Mm-hmm. No one thought that they were going to be in the playoffs anyways.
I know, like even
Lehner's on the Knights now. They could be a team too. Fleury's, still playing at a high level at an older age, so you could look out for them as well.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, boys? No?
I think we covered it.
All right. Let's move on to the next topic coming up next. Welcome back to Go Chat. We are back with another topic. This one is more of all sports. We've had a great decade of championships. I was wondering what team is the greatest team of the decade, championship team of the decade? I'll start with Connor.
So I'm going to choose a basketball team here. I'm going to go with the 2017 Warriors, the 2016-2017 Warriors. They had went 73-9 the year before losing to the Cavs in the finals 4-3 for the Cavs' first championship. And I'd say they answered back pretty well. They went 67-15 in the regular season. They were first in their division, first in their conference. They went 16-1 in the postseason. They were the second team in history to win 30 road games back-to-back. Draymond Green was Defensive Player of the Year. Kevin Durant was MVP. They were voted Team of the Year at the ESPYs. They had 4 All-Stars. They had the Best Executive Year of the award. I mean, we could throw out all these different numbers and all these different stats. Steph had 324 threes throughout the season. I mean, 16-1 in any postseason is pretty impressive. And then you're talking about basketball, I'd say that's a hard stat to follow.
Yeah, that's a good example. The Warriors were great. Tommy, what about you?
Well, I'm going to have to go the 2016 Chicago Cubs.
Not the Astros?
Definitely not the Houston Astros. I won't even get into that. But, we all know the story. The Cubs had a 108-year drought. They hadn't won a World Series title. Obviously, the Steve Bartman incident, they were so close back in 2003 to making it against the Marlins, and they weren't able to get it done. But in 2016, they were building the team for a couple of years. They brought in Joe Madden, a very innovative manager. They had Jed Hoyer and Theo Epstein building the club. They had come over from Boston, had success there, broke the curse there in Boston. They had a long drought as well. But, this team is incredible. Chris Bryant won the MVP. And obviously one of the World Series there was amazing. 7 games with the Indians. And that Game 7 is one of the best baseball games I can remember in a long time. They went back and forth. Rajai Davis tied it. They had a rain delay. David Ross hit a home run, who's now their manager. So you can't say enough about that 2016 team. and that's why they're my team of the decade.
Perfect, buddy. What about you, Mike?
I think the 2017 Warriors are a great pick. Definitely one of the most dominant teams, especially after picking up Kevin Durant the offseason before, which is unfair, but whatever. I'm gonna have to veer away from them because I have to go with the 2013 Seattle Seahawks. They were a really dominant team. The thing that stands out about them is their defense. One of the best defenses of all time. You could compare them to the 2000 Ravens or the 85 Bears. I think those are probably the top three best defenses of all time. And you also have to look at how good their offense was too. They have Russell Wilson, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Even at that time, they had Marshawn Lynch in the backfield, beast mode. They probably wouldn't went back-to-back if they gave it to him on the 1 yard line the year after, but we'll not get into that. So they had Marshawn Lynch in the backfield. They had Doug Baldwin, Percy Harvin on the outsides. So I think they were a great team overall. How many Hall of Famers do they have on that defense? So you have Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, Bobby Wagner, and another Pro Bowler in KJ Wright. Their defense was outstanding. And the thing that stands out for them, in my opinion, is how dominant they were in the Super Bowl. Going to the Super Bowl is kind of like a back and forth. Oh, the Broncos are the number one offense. Oh, but the Seahawks are the number one defense. And they really show that defense does win championships when they absolutely destroyed the Broncos 43-8. It was something I don't think anyone saw coming. So that is why I think that they are the most dominant team the past decade. Matt, who are you going to take?
Yeah, I just want to say, I remember, I think like the first play, Peyton Manning fumbled it or something, and they got a touchdown off it. So, yeah, that was a great example. But I'm going to go with two because my first one is I'm being patriotic. I'm going with the U.S. Women's National Team 2019 when they won the FIFA World Cup. Just to start out, they won their first game 13-0 against Thailand. I mean, yeah, I get that they have – I get that, it's the World Cup. I mean, the United States are always – fairly dominant in it, but they had players like Megan Rapinoe, Carly Lloyd, Julie Ertz, my favorite Julie Ertz, Alex Morgan, Lindsey Horan. They had a goaltender in Alyssa Nair, amazing head coach in Jill Ellis, Mallory Pugh, Rose Lavelle, Tobin Heath. I mean, like I could go on about this team. I think Jill Ellis in the group stage, everyone started, like all their 23 of their players, and they didn't lose a game, obviously. They won the final against the Netherlands 2-0. And this was a team that, it was starred by Megan Rapinoe, and then Rapinoe gets hurt, I think, against Spain maybe. And she didn't play the next game. And, they just put in a person like Kristen Press, and they got it done. I mean, everyone on the team was great, and I think that we're not going to see that much of greatness in a while now, but outside of the national team, I'm going to have to go with the 2018 Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, the story that it had, Carson Wentz gets hurt against the Rams. Carson Wentz was on an MVP season, and then a quarterback like Nick Foles, who contemplated retirement, went to the Kansas City Chiefs, did nothing there, comes back to the Eagles. I don't think the story can get any better. I mean, they had a great defense. They had a running back. They had an undrafted running back from Wisconsin, Corey Clement, who was productive in the Super Bowl. And, what better is it to beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl? They had a great team, a great defense, in my opinion, so that's my team of the decade.
I think when you look at like what you just said with the women's team and the Eagles in 2018, and when you look at the Cubs, yeah, they're great stories, but were they truly the best? Were they truly dominant?
The women's soccer team absolutely was.
Yeah, no, okay.
Soccer team. That was like the team that I wanted to say, but I just wanted to on that one.
Like the 2018 Eagles and the 2016 Cubs, I think they are great stories. The Chicago Cubs ending the drought over 100 plus years of them not winning World Series, and the Eagles winning a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. So I don't want to hear anything about Wentz doesn't have a good supporting cast after they won a Super Bowl without him in 2018. So, anyways, we won't get into that. But I just think that they weren't truly the best. I think when you look at even the women's team and the Seahawks and the Warriors, I think they were truly the best. They were above the rest. So I think that's one thing I have to say.
One thing I want to mention about the women's team is I've never been a big soccer guy, but I knew every time that they were going to be playing, and I watched every single one of their games because, I mean, not only were they for the U.S. team, and, I mean, we just want to support the U.S., but, I mean, they were fun to watch. Going up 13-0 against Thailand in their first game, and, I mean, there was never a game they played that wasn't just fun to watch.
I mean, like, I get you could say that maybe the other teams are not as dominant as them, but still, they beat France in France. Like, it was a home I was about to say home court, home field advantage. You know, and even France was a good team. I mean, they lost to Sweden. I mean, you rewind to the Olympics, and they lost to Sweden in PKs. And then they come in, Sweden's in their group stage. It's like, oh my God, no way. They won 2-0. They dominated Sweden. So that's why I just think it was great. I mean, all their games were great, and that truly, like, I'm a U.S. women's soccer fan now, and I'm proud of it. You know, I love the team and love the greatness.
I think when you talk about like soccer, it's like based on like where you play. It's not like normal professional sports where like there's constant movement. You have certain contracts, while in like the Olympics and in international events like FIFA, you're only allowed to stay with your home country. So I think that the fact that even the Cubs and the Eagles, they were able to overcome the obstacles of being a normal professional sports team, having constant movement on their team between years, I think that's what makes them a little more special than the women's team. I'm talking about the 2017 Warriors and the 2013 Seahawks. The fact that they were that good in a professional sports league is what I think makes them better than the 2019 women's soccer team. They were great, don't get me wrong, but I think that the Seahawks and the Warriors were a little bit better.
Just another thing to comment on Tommy's 2016 Chicago Cubs is I remember Chris Bryant's season when in 2016. I mean, what did he have? He had like 40 home runs or something like that. He was unstoppable, and then he had a young Javi Baez with him, right? Or was Javi Baez not up yet?
Yeah, Javi was there.
He had a young Javi Baez, and he just had a good cast around him. And I mean, Chris Bryant really led that team. So yes, it's a good story of a 108-year drought, but I mean, they had the MVP on their team. So I mean, I don't want to hear that it's just a good story and they didn't deserve the championship, because I mean, they were a very, very talented team and they showed it.
Absolutely. And you have Anthony Rizzo there. He had an incredible year. And think about Kyle Schwarber. He had come up, I think, in 2015. He was hurt. He came back in the World Series, helped them win. So that's another great storyline. But like you said, it was a good team. You had John Lester on the mound. Kyle
Chapman.
I know. Had Chappie come over there midway through the season. And
that deal was good for the Yankees because the Yankees wound up getting Gleyber Torres through that.
That's right. That was the best trade Cashman's ever made, I think. But, you know, that's a story for another day. But yeah, you mentioned Chapman. He pitched in 26 games. Only halfway through the season he came over. So he did everything that Joe Mann asked for and more. But, yeah, it was a great team.
I have to agree. I mean, they were a really good team. I just think that the Seahawks were better, you know.
That 2013 Seahawks team, was that their last year with the Legion of Boom?
No. In 2014, I mean, they had a couple of years. I think 2015 was probably their last year, I think, like all together. I think once Cam Chancellor went and Michael Bennett went. Oh, I totally forgot to talk about Michael Bennett, one of the best edge rushers at the time. But I think it all started falling apart, you know, when the defense came apart and Russell Wilson just carries that team on his back now, which is just insane to see year after year.
I think another notable team I was thinking, because I said that I was thinking of multiple different ones other than the national team, would be the LSU Tigers, you know, just recently. I mean, that was it was like last decade, but I get that they finished in this decade. But still, I think that their offensive power was amazing. I mean, I think like all their offensive positions were drafted. So I think that was pretty great.
We go to college. We could talk about another great story in the 2014 Ohio State Buckeyes. JT Barrett was having a arguably Heisman Trophy season, and then he goes down with a knee injury against Michigan, and the always biggest game between those two games or those two teams season. And then in steps Cardell Jones, never played a snap of college football in his life, and he wins 3 games to take him to the national championship and beat the number 1 team in the country in Oregon, led by Marcus Mariota, who would eventually become the number 1 pick. I mean, that's a good story in itself, or number 2 pick. Yeah.
Can't forget about Jameis, dude. Jameis.
Wait. What about Tua stepping in at halftime for Jalen Hurts and winning the national championship? Was that not one of the best stories you've ever seen? This left-handed guy from Hawaii,
sure,
some guy you couldn't even pronounce his last name.
It doesn't make that Alabama team one of the best of the decade.
Alabama's always good.
I'm just saying it was a great story. It was a great story, but the LSU Tigers were definitely insane. Joe Burrow, probably one of the best college seasons of all time. I mean, it's hard to compete with what he did last year at LSU. And their defense was insane, too.
Yeah, I got a Burrow jersey, but it's at Ithaca. I would have whipped it out. Tommy, what do you think about the Nationals, though? You know, obviously, I like the Nationals, so what do you think about that?
Yeah, you're right. The Nationals were a great story. You know, another great team. They never won a playoff series prior to last year, and then they just let Bryce Harper walk and go to the Phillies. And then, then they win it. They had an incredible pitching staff, Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg. I think I'm forgetting somebody. But, yeah, they had a very good team. Anthony Rendon, he won the MVP, right?
Yeah.
No, it was Steven Strasburg who won the World Series.
Oh, right.
Or what? But the National League MVP?
I don't remember.
No,
I think it was Yelich or Bellinger. I think it was.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. But he was definitely in contention for that
100%.
And then he went out and got a big contract going to the Angels next year. But it was a very good team, and glad
Juan Soto too.
Juan Soto, Trey Turner.
Yeah, Juan Soto was great.
As much as I hate the Nationals, Juan Soto is so good. I mean, I don't want the Mets to face off against him for years to come. He's so good. He's only like 20 years old and played that well in a World Series. I mean, the cojones on him, man.
We bring up the NL East and the Mets. I mean, that 2015 team that the Mets had, they almost had it. They would have been one of these top teams of the decade if they had finished off the Royals there. But
we're not talking about
they choked 3 games. Listen, you brought it up, and now I have to get mad again. Listen, only Familia doesn't give up stupid home runs in the 9th inning to stupid Eric Hosmer and Alex Gordon. And then Duda, oh my God, what is he doing? He throws into the stands from first base. It's a simple throw. I mean, come on.
God, what did you do?
Listen, I told you before the show not to bring it up, and of course Connor does. Listen, the 2015 Mets, PTSD to this day. I don't know what's worse, them or the missed catch in 2014 for the Cowboys. But
oh my God!
Listen, I had to bring it up. I had to.
All right, I'm gonna shift it quickly. One thing about the U.S. Women's that is also like a great part of their story is the platform that they had after they win. I mean, they're not getting paid. If you guys didn't know, they're not getting paid as much as the men, which I think is pretty stupid because the men aren't winning. The men are awful. Like, they didn't even make the World Cup. But, you know, I think that the platform that they had, I mean, did anyone see the Nike ad?
Yeah.
Their new commercial. I loved it. But, you know, in the part of the ad was Julia Ertz goal against Brazil, like a post goal after Brazil celebrating, like hugging Megan Rapinoe. I think that when they won, the platform that they had was so tall that they could finally get their word out, you know, for equality.
Megan Rapinoe definitely has started a movement. I mean, she said it all throughout her when they were playing, and then afterwards in their celebration, she had a huge speech that, I mean, fired up a ton of people. I think she's really started a movement, and hopefully it will get us to get women's and sports wages where they should be.
Definitely. I'm really excited to see their team next year in the World Cup, or not the World Cup, the Olympics. If there is Olympics, hopefully, we'll pray. But
I hope so too. You know what? When I came to Ithaca, I saw like you could get like internships for the Olympics, but then I realized that you need like a resume and stuff like that. And at that point, at the beginning of the year, I haven't done, anything. So, hopefully, maybe you'll be seeing Coach at the 2021 Olympics next year.
live
I'll
go.
be sick.
With the Super Bowl some year.
Oh yeah, definitely Packers Super Bowl next year. We're gone.
I was thinking, Dallas was going to be in Tampa next year, but Dallas versus the Jets. What do you think about that, Connor?
Well, let's be realistic.
Let's be realistic.
I agree.
I can see the Jets.
We're getting a little bit off topic here, so I'm going to say that we should switch phases here. This was a good discussion about the best championship teams of the decade. We've all thrown out some good teams. Let's give it up to those teams. We'll be back.
Welcome back to Go Chat. We had a great discussion about who we think are the best championship teams in the past decade. We're going to move into another quick topic, a topic that we discussed on Monday. We did record the episode before the match played, and it turns out we were all right. We were all correct in that Peyton Manning and Tiger Woods were going to beat Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady. So congrats to us, us being right. The
Not
best.
surprised, right?
Yeah, never a surprise, Whenever you side with me, it's always good. Anyways, what are you guys' thoughts on the match? It was pretty eventful, I think, to be honest. It was definitely my favorite golf match I've ever seen. Probably the only one I've ever seen. So
Let me start off by saying, up until Tom Brady holed out on the 7th hole and ripped his pants, which was funny in itself, seeing Tom Brady struggle in anything was amazing. The first 6 holes on the course, he did not play well. And being a Jets fan, I've hated Tom Brady since the day I became a Jets fan. Freaking Mo Lewis had to take out Drew Bledsoe. Seeing Tom Brady struggle in anything was the best thing that I saw in that match.
Okay, Tommy, what do you think?
Well, it was definitely entertaining. A great thing to have during this time when there aren't many sports going on. But, definitely enjoyed watching it. And like you said, it was no surprise that Peyton and Tiger were going to get it done. Tiger, one of the best golfers of all time. And Peyton's very well in his own right. So, definitely fun to watch.
I will say, Tom had the shot of the game, though. That was But I also loved how Peyton trash talked Tom.
I was going to mention that too.
Yeah, but what Connor said. What'd you say?
Eli on Twitter, he was trash talking Tom.
Oh yeah, same with Nick Foles. It was hilarious.
Well, I thought it was a really entertaining match. Even Phil Mickelson was talking some trash too. He was saying there was one drive he had and he was, yelling in Tiger's face that he was hitting bombs. So I thought that was fun to see. I never thought that Phil Mickelson would talk trash. I also thought it was hilarious when Peyton was bringing up who he should bring to caddy. He was saying that he should bring Eli Manning or Nick Foles so he could get in Tom Brady's head. And when he brought up Nick Foles, Tom was like, hey, that's a cheap shot. So that one hurts. That one hurts. But I thought it was a really entertaining match nonetheless.
I will say, on top of all the golf, we should remember that it was for charity and it was for coronavirus relief. And we did raise almost $30 million for coronavirus relief. So, getting these 4 major athletes out here, putting their time and getting some money raised towards this pandemic. So hopefully we can have all sports back soon. We can all be together again to do Go Chat. I think that's the bigger thing to come away from this match.
You talked about Tom struggling, I'm just going to quickly bring this up. His last throw as a Patriot, That was great. I was clapping.
I was so shocked when they lost to the Titans. I was shocked. Don't worry. I put big money on the Titans against the Ravens the next game. I won a lot of money off that, so that was good. Yeah. But I did not see the Titans beating the Patriots. No way. That was insane. But yeah, Connor, I think you're definitely right. The biggest thing that we do have to take from this match is that a lot of money was raised to help fix this pandemic and, have everyone, stay safe. And it brought some joy into our lives, I have to say. But anyways, unfortunately, we won't be doing a go to the week this episode because it is in the middle of the week. It's going to be kind of tough, especially when there's no sports going on right now to do another go of the week. So we're just going to save that for the episodes that come out on Monday. So we have the whole week for all the athletes to show us what they can do throughout the week. And then we'll decide who we think should be the go of the week. So, well, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed our new weekday episode. And we can't wait to see you on the next one. Thanks for all the support. Subscribe. I saw 35% of you are still not subscribed, so you guys subscribe.
People, no.
Subscribe, follow all our socials, stuff like that. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy.
And also I want to say, let us know if you like this more content. If you want even more content, we're not gonna do like 3 videos, but like just some small clips. Just whatever you guys like. If it's too long, too short, I really hope it's not too short. But anything you guys want to say in the comments, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for supporting us, and we'll see you next time.